Yeah, so the question is, what do you feel that Jesus would say about what's currently going on in the country or in the world, everything in the news?
Well, what Christians should do, whatever he says, would be somewhat in line with what Christian doctrine would be. And that is to care for the fallen, raise the fallen, take care of the sick, take care of the broken, take care of the poor people. Those are not things or topics peculiar to just his time, right? 2,003 or 4,000 years ago. This is really appealing to those people who are wealthy in spirit, not just in money, but in spirit. When you're wealthy in spirit, then you will go to the poor and help those who need help. So you won't turn your backs on them. But if you are in the poverty of spirit, right, in a sense, then you turn your back on everybody and just look at yourself in the mirror and say, oh, how great this is. Yeah. And be blinded by what you see, because you're pretending that that's all there is to see. There's much more to see. As I've said about the musicians, there's more to do than to just play music. Mm-hmm. You have an obligation to your spirit, soul, nature. Most people say, well, that's a crazy theory. But for those people, there's no turning them around from their bias or prejudice about that, because the spiritual people are 100% turned to the spiritual. Not because of Jesus, not because of God, so to speak, but because that's what they know themselves to be. The 100% spiritual. Comment.
Yeah, and then so the other part of the question, or another question would be, how important is it for a practitioner to stay in touch with the news or with politics, or if at all?
Well, if you want to be depressed, put the TV on. If you want to see how not to be and how not to run things, turn the tube on. When you see it there, all this bitterness. There's nothing spiritual about your bitterness. There's nothing spiritual about the anger that's going on. There's absolutely nothing spiritual about the lack of compassion we see out there. See? This racial sort of what is the word? Sickness. See? The sickness of the heart, whereas the white face is going to compensate for a black heart. See? So there are white faces with black hearts, and there may be black faces with golden hearts. Who knows? See? What is missing in a word is a soulfulness, see? Kindness, compassion, caring. People are too proud to have the heart open to that degree. So they have to do as the proud people do, and that's make a lot of noise. Right? And not be true, not be simple and clear and honest about what's going on. Right? I think they're trying to make a thug out of this, the Vice President Biden, and that's silly. He's so obviously a humble man. It's just so obvious. Look at his whole history. He's been a statesman and a gentleman, right? A kind, compassionate person who knows what brokenheartedness is all about. He's lost enough, so he's gained in spirit. See? So he's gained a lot in spirit, right? And that's why he's so beloved, in fact, not because he's a thug on the left or the right or in the middle or whatever. He's a kind person. You have to be a good judge of character instead of being blinded by pomposity and buffoonery and recklessness and carelessness and stupidity and lies. and confusion, right? Spewing and promoting confusion, right, as some kind of battlefield agenda, so you're deceived of the enemy if there's a perceived enemy. Hello, the enemy here is Americans are the enemy here, right? The poor people, Jesus' people are the enemy, right? The dark-skinned people, Jesus' people, right, are the enemy now, right? The humble people are the enemy in this so-called society, right? Right. And that's why the rest of the world has turned their back on the country. It has lost its dignity and its standing. See, as an honorable, right, humanitarian, compassionate leader, as it may have been at one point. Right. Comment.
Yeah, I mean, it's apparent to me that, things need to turn around. There needs to be a change of the tide, so to speak.
There needs to be an awakening of what BS is and what the heart's way, the heart's practice is. Right. What will the heart have you do? Be prejudiced? That's not the heart. That's the ego. Right. The primary, I guess you might say, source of separation. Right. And disgrace, the ego. It's not dignified. Dignified people don't act like that. See? Dignified people have a certain respect for others as they have for themselves. See? And so there's a long ways to go now that we have fallen this low into depravity. The United States has deprived itself of its glory. Now that it has fallen to, what is it, falseness, see, dishonesty, right, thuggery, bulliness, and ignorance. I mean, it's really about ignorance. So, ignorance. It can do better. It must do better.